Cooperative businesses have been booming here in Buffalo and beyond. And I'm joined now by the CEO of the National Cooperative Business Association to tell us more about what that means for our local economy. Welcome, Doug O'Brien. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Of course. Let's start off by having you give us some background on the NCBA and what your mission is for the businesses here in the U.S.
Yeah, the National Cooperative Business Association is the umbrella group for all kinds of co-ops here in the United States. And there's about 65,000 cooperative establishments, and it's a special kind of business. It's owned and controlled, and it benefits the people who use the business. So it might be a producer co-op, like a farmer co-op, like upstate New York or now UNC Dairy. It might be a consumer co-op, like a food co-op, like Lexington Co-op here in Buffalo. Or it might be a worker co-op, like Bread Hive or Extra Extra Pizza. In co-ops, they're different because the people who use the business, they're the ones who actually control the business. And our role at NCBA CLUSA is we're based in Washington, D.C., and we advance and protect and defend cooperatives there in the nation's capital and across the country.
Okay. Can you give us some general co-op facts and tell us why they're such an impactful part of our community?
Yeah, some people who are not as familiar with co-ops think that they're sort of this, kind of a marginal business, but that's not the case at all. In fact, 1 out of 3 people in the United States are members of cooperatives. That includes credit unions. Wow. And there's almost 4,000 credit unions across the United States, over 80 right here in Western New York. And then farmer cooperatives, the majority of farmers are members of 1 or more cooperatives. Rural electric cooperatives across the country, people that own and control their own electric utility. And then there's of course worker co-ops, and there's housing co-ops, and there's co-ops in pretty much every sector. So it's a really impactful. It's been around for over 100 years. NCBA CLUSA itself has been around for almost 110 years, and it's really made a huge impact on the economy, not only across the United States but here in Western New York.
Yeah, let's talk about how much co-ops have been able to grow here in Buffalo over the last few years.
Yeah, there's been some great things happening in Western New York with cooperatives building on that foundation. So there's 111 co-ops in Western New York, and I know that because of the World Co-op Map. And in a group right here in Buffalo called Cooperation Buffalo is a partner with the World Co-op Map, and they've helped populate this. There's 6 or 7 producer co-ops in Western New York. There's 10 worker co-ops. There's 8 consumer co-ops like Lexington Co-op, and there's 3 housing co-ops. Along with 83 credit unions. Wow. And the really exciting part is that with the help of primarily Cooperation Buffalo, there's been a major increase in worker cooperatives. These are co-ops that are owned by the people who actually work at the firm. And 5 years ago, there were 2 in Western New York, and today there's 10.
Wow, okay, so we're seeing it grow. And let's talk about how likely cooperative businesses are to succeed over traditional businesses. Yeah,
there's some really good data, both internationally and domestically, that firms that are cooperatives, they tend to last longer than non-co-ops. That includes employee-owned cooperatives or other types of cooperatives, and that's because the community is invested in the success and of that cooperative, and they want to make sure that it typically is a pillar of the economy, and so people want to make sure that it survives.
If someone wants to turn their business into a co-op, what are some of the first steps?
Well, here in Western New York, the first place to go is Cooperation Works. They've worked with scores of different businesses and groups of people who want to form a cooperative, including small business owners who are looking to sell, and they can sell actually to the workers, and then the workers can own, and it can be a worker-owned cooperative.
Pretty cool stuff. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about how the NCBA really does help to ensure success for these co-ops.
Yeah, well, a lot of the bread and butter work that we do is actually working on policy. So it's really important to have a policy, a set of policies and regulations and laws that really support people who are trying to build their businesses in community through cooperatives. So we do a lot of advocacy. We do convenings in Washington, D.C. We have a really significant online presence at ncbaclusa.coop. And we also do a lot of public awareness because not that many people know about cooperatives, even though 1 out of 3 people in the United States are members of cooperatives.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about what your impact report and the data showed from what you've researched.
Yeah, a lot of really exciting things. One of the things that I think is most important is that we surveyed consumers across the country on their thoughts about cooperatives, and we found that about 2 times as many consumers believe that cooperatives serve their individual interests better than non-cooperatives, that the prices are fair, that they treat their workers more fairly, and that cooperatives invest more in the local economy. And on that last one, it makes a lot of sense because
it's the community.
It's the community who owns it. So if there's any economic activity, it stays right in the community as opposed to flowing out to outside shareholders.
Makes a lot of sense. You've given us a lot of intel about co-ops, Doug, so thank you so much for coming in and sharing more about this. Viewers, if you'd like to learn more about the National Cooperative Business Association or view their impact report, just visit ncbalusa.coop or impact.coop. Thanks again for coming in, Doug.
Thank you.